All right, this is going to be called handling buyers in a virtual market. All right, so usually you're finding your buyers either through Facebook, text messaging, cold calling, email, and we're talking about new buyers. If you got old buyers, those are the ones you want. But the new buyers, you basically want to build a relationship with them. Your first conversation usually is going to be about a deal you have. And then you really want to find out what kind of properties they're really buying in that area so that you can keep finding good properties for them. Their job is going to be to buy the house as cheap as possible. Your job is to keep your assignment fee as fat as possible so that you can make as much money. And also don't be afraid to tell these people no. Okay, so that's a big thing. Like, just if they want too little or if they're being dicks or pushy, just say no. That's all you got to do. And then if they want to negotiate, like, they do have the power, they have the money, you have the deal. So that's your leverage, that's your balance. And always just try and make as much money as possible on your deals, because you never know, when the next deal exactly is going to come. I mean, obviously, if you have a good system and if you're into the mentorship, you're going to learn how to consistently close deals, but some deals are better than others. Some deals are big old cash cows. I mean, I don't want you to lose deals because you're being too greedy. But I also want you to have that fair understanding that you worked hard for this deal. Write your own check. Make sure you're bouncing off a couple buyers if you have to make sure you get the most amount of money. Because I mean that's what, when nobody got into this business to break even or lose money. We got into this business to make a profit. Nothing's wrong with a profit. Write your own checks, make them big old fat checks, and then enjoy long walks to the bank. All right, but when you're talking to buyers, be honest. That's the biggest thing. You're not in the market. You're not even there. You just locked it up under contract. So the biggest thing that you can do is just tell everything that the seller told you, and then send the buyers to go look at it. And then a lot of the times there's a lot of moving parts and it gets kind of annoying and you can even get a little stressed out with it. Try and just take a deep breath. Make sure it's just as simple as possible. You just got to, herd a human being with money to go look at a house. Okay. So a lot of these bigger cash buyers and hedge funds, they're going to make you use their contracts. They're going to have all this weird stuff, and just make sure that you're on your ball, on the ball when you're looking at their contracts. You're not signing anything stupid, but you're also understanding that if this is how their business works and this is how they buy houses, then this is how it's going to go. I recently did a weird deal where I sold a property to a buyer in Israel, and they're going to be buying a lot of houses from me. So I'm kind of glad that I did, but I had to use their contracts. We had to coordinate with, they were trying to find a good contractor, and it seemed like every contractor that they hired sucked terribly. And then the tenant that lived in the house had a little girl, so there was only a few hours during the day where we were all able to connect and everything was able to gel. And I could have gotten real stressed out and kind of pissed off about it because they were blaming me when I'm not even in the same state. But all I did was just took a breath. The seller wants to sell, the buyer wants to buy. I'm in alignment with making money with this house. I'll just do everything I can to coordinate the calls. I'm not going to get too stressed out about it. I'm not going to overthink it. If this buyer falls through, I'll find another buyer. Okay, so the key thing when you're dealing with buyers virtually, number one, be honest. Number two, try and make it a good experience for them so that they want to work with you again. And then number three is have some balls. Don't let these cash buyers push you around or, take your money. They've been in the game a while. They might have more info than you do, but that doesn't mean that you're not working your ass off too, and you deserve a fat payday as well for finding these properties, because you're doing the real hard work of finding them for them. And the key thing with real estate investing is you make your money when you buy the property. Okay, so that's why wholesalers can make money, because they're finding these awesome deals and we're able to squeeze in our margins. But we need to stay in business and we need to keep the doors open and we need to put food on the table for our families and things like that. So I guess that's one of the big things when you're dealing with buyers. Have some balls, be honest. And then when things aren't always as easy conversation, if you will, if the conversation gets weird where the buyer has a price and you have to renegotiate with the seller and the seller won't budge, grow up, call them, tell them what's the deal, and ask if the buyer can come up on their price. And they usually can. these buyers will make it sound like that's the bottom dollar they would ever be able to buy this house for. And then you say, okay, well, could you do it for like, $5,000 more? And then they'll bitch and moan and look at their little computers and do some typing and then come back and be like, oh, fine, we can probably do that, but we have to close soon, or whatever it is. The other thing is I would avoid using the buyer's contracts, but just be smart. Everybody gets so freaked out about contracts. It's just words on paper. Like if you read it, you should be able to understand it. If you don't understand the contract, then don't fucking sign it. Or send it to the title company before you sign it and ask them, hey, can you like tell me what this is asking and if everything is going to be good? So that's how you're going to do it though. But a lot of the times when the buyers are making requests for change on contracts, it's not the end of the world. It's just not. It's not really even a big deal. You just got to kind of work with them. And a lot of times they're probably better at making contracts than you are, and they just want to make sure that they can close the deal or they can get something signed to show to whoever actually has all the money upstairs that this is a deal and we can move forward with it. So don't overthink it. But have some balls. Make sure that the buyer understands that this is your deal. You're going to be working with them. If they go to the property and they try and steal your seller, like that's a no-go, and that's not how we do business. So you need to make sure that you have that conversation. You don't have to have like a big scary one, but just be like, hey, when you go and look at the house, if the seller's there, please try not to talk price. We're in a very delicate negotiation, and I'm happy to do that side of the work. But that's kind of where we're at. Please tell me if anything else is weird with the property, and also that. But, you also don't have to be worried about buyers. If you're like, oh, I need to find a boots on the ground to go and open the door and make sure it's all clean and crisp. Like the buyer is the one who's buying it. At the end of the day, the weight falls on the buyer if it's going to be a good deal or not. Like you're a touch and go person. They're a buy and hold person. Okay, so if they're buying a piece of shit house and they want to buy that piece of shit house, you let them buy that piece of shit house. It's not your fault. So just be real. Like at the end of the day, you're going to move on. You're going to get a check. You're going to go back home to your family. All you can do is be honest with people and tell them the truth. And if you show integrity about something, like if the foundation is totally fucked and the whole house is going to fall apart, then you should probably tell the buyer that. You know what I'm saying? Like don't be a shady cat. That's why a lot of wholesalers get a bad name. But just keep pushing. Have that conversation. Be brutally honest. Make sure all the paperwork goes to title. Whenever things go wonky, and things go wonky quite a bit in this business, just have that conversation, even if you don't want to. And just keep pushing, all right? And keep pitching to buyers. That's another thing. Whenever you get one buyer interested, you can just keep marketing it for way more money and see if somebody else is going to buy it. All right? Cool. And then, like, whenever you're doing deals, make sure, like, you understand that your part in this job is to coordinate for the seller and for the buyer and do the best of that job that you can. So if the buyer needs to send somebody to go over to the house at a certain time, you're going to have to be the one that calls the seller, texts the seller, emails the seller that's when it's going to happen, and to please allow the person to get let into the house. And that's kind of the weird thing that nobody tells you when you're wholesaling, is that you have to be the juggler of all these people and all these moving parts. But it's just part of the deal. Again, don't let it get you too stressed out. Just try and do the best job that you can at it. And then you got to make sure the seller is cool. You got to make sure the title company's cool. You got to make sure the buyer is happy. You got to make sure the contractors and everybody else can get into the house, and do what they need to do without messing anything up. So just keep those things in mind and have the conversation with the buyer. Be like, hey, look, we do a lot of deals out here. I'm not there currently, but I'm going to do everything I can to make this deal go smoothly and then find you more properties. And I'm excited to do business with you. And just try and be as professional as possible and just keep the ball rolling. Make sure everything gets signed. Make sure, if you're making a lot of money, that you understand how to do a double close as opposed to an assignment fee. If you're doing an assignment fee, everything goes pretty smooth. Double closes can take a little bit more time, a little more fees, stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much how to handle your buyers virtually. Another thing is, like, make sure your buyer saves your number in their phone, so that when you text them and when you call them, they know what's going on and they're excited about you calling them with a new deal. That usually gets a lot of these buyers excited. Ooh, somebody's bringing me a hot new deal. Like, let's go. All right, so that's pretty good. Keep building your buyers list. Keep emailing new buyers. Keep conversations with buyers alive, so that you don't lose touch. And keep bringing deals to the buyers so that they know you're serious and they know that you're in business, and you can work together for a long time. All right, that's the plan. That's what you got to do. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.